You enter this world on a bed of straw that smells of dried meadow grass and the lingering warmth of summer fields. The wooden walls around you are darkened with age and smoke, each beam hand-hewn and fitted with the patience of generations. Your first breath carries the scent of burning oak from the hearth, where embers glow like tiny suns in the pre-dawn darkness. The hands that first hold you are rough with calluses earned from seasons of work, yet they cradle you with a tenderness that speaks of countless children held this same way. Your mother's voice, when she whispers your name, mingles with the soft crackling of the fire and the distant lowing of cattle in their stalls. This is the sound of your beginning, gentle, earthy, and eternal. The cottage that will shape your earliest years is simple in its honesty. One room serves all purposes: sleeping, eating, gathering, living. The floor beneath is packed earth, worn smooth by bare feet and swept clean each morning with a broom of bound twigs. When winter rains come, you will learn the particular scent of damp earth mixed with wood smoke, a smell that will follow you through all your years like a faithful companion. You sleep wrapped in wool that still carries the lanolin from the sheep that gave it a natural waterproofing that keeps the dampness at bay. The weight of the blanket becomes your first comfort beyond your mother's arms, heavy enough to make you feel held light enough to let you breathe easily. In the depths of winter nights, you will burrow deeper into this wool, listening to the wind speak secrets to the thatched roof above. Your cradle is carved from oak that grew for decades in the village common, its grain telling the story of good years and lean ones of spring floods and summer droughts. The wood has been polished smooth by your father's hands during the long evenings when work is done and the family gathers around the fire. Each curve and edge has been considered crafted with the knowledge that this cradle will hold not just you, but perhaps your children someday. The rhythms that will govern your life begin even now in these first quiet days. You wake to the sound of your father moving about in the darkness before dawn, stoking the fire that died down during the night, the scrape of his boots on the stone threshold, the soft thud of wood being placed on glowing coals, the gentle whistle of his breath as he coaxes flame from ember. These become the music of morning, as reliable as sunrise. Your mother moves through the small space with the fluid efficiency of long practice. She knows exactly where each pot and tool belongs, can reach for what she needs, without looking, can judge the heat of the oven by the sound of the wood burning within it. You watch from your cradle as she tends the fire, prepares the simple breakfast, checks the stores of grain and dried vegetables that will carry the family through winter's lean months. The light that filters through the single window changes throughout the day, and you learn to read time in the way it moves across the earthen floor. Morning light is pale and tentative, reaching through oiled cloth that serves as glass. Midday brings a stronger golden presence that illuminates the motes of dust dancing in the air like tiny spirits. Evening light grows amber and warm, painting everything in honeyed tones before fading to the orange glow of firelight. Outside your window, the world extends as far as the edge of the village common, where ancient oak trees mark the boundary between the known and the wild. Beyond those trees lies the manor house, where the Lord lives a place you will come to know as distant as the stars, but just as influential in shaping your days. The church bell tower rises above the cottages like a stone finger pointing toward heaven, its bronze voice, marking the hours of prayer and the passages of seasons. This is where your story begins, not in a castle or a city, but in this humble space where every object has its purpose and every moment has its place in the great wheel of seasons. You are born into a life measured not in coins or conquest, but in the turning of soil, the ripening of grain, and the steady heartbeat of community that has sustained your people for generations beyond memory. You learn the taste of milk, still warm from the goat, sweet and rich, with the flavor of the herbs she grazes in the meadow behind your cottage. Your small hands wrap around the wooden cup that will be yours alone, worn smooth by countless other children who have drunk from it before you. The wood holds the memory of their lips, their small fingers, their wonder at this daily miracle of sustenance. Words come to you, slowly, each one earned through repetition and need. Mama and Papa arrive first, followed by more and no. The essential vocabulary of desire and refusal that governs the early years. But alongside these human sounds, you learn the language of the natural world that surrounds you. The cluck of chickens means eggs for breakfast. The lowing of the cow signals milking time. The bark of the village dogs announces strangers on the road. Your feet discover the different textures of your world through direct contact. The packed earth of your cottage floor is smooth and cool in summer, almost warm in winter when warmed by the constant fire. The rough wooden threshold between inside and outside catches your toes and teaches you to lift your feet higher. The grass of the common is soft and yielding, except where it grows over stones that surprise your tender souls. You learn that water comes from the well in the center of the village, carried home in heavy buckets that your mother balances with the ease of long practice. Sometimes she lets you help your small hands gripping the rope alongside hers. As you both pull the bucket up from the depths, the water is cold and sweet tasting of earth and rain and the deep darkness where it has waited for you. Fire is both friend and danger, and you learn its moods through careful observation. The gentle fire of evening is for warmth and comfort, its flames dancing in patterns that tell stories to those who know how to read them. The hungry fire of morning devours the kindling. Your father feeds it, crackling with urgency and purpose. The cooking fire burns steady and reliable, its heat measured and controlled by your mother's experienced eye. You discover that bread doesn't simply appear. It grows from grain that waves in fields beyond the village, grain that is cut and threshed and ground and mixed with water and shaped by hands and baked in ovens until it becomes the dense, dark loaves that sustain your family through each day. The process is long and requires the work of many people, and you begin to understand that you are part of something larger than your small cottage and your small family. The seasons teach you their own lessons. Spring means warmth returning slowly to the earth, and the appearance of tiny green shoots in the garden plots. You learn to recognize the different plants by their leaves, their smell, their purpose. The herbs that grow near the kitchen door are for cooking and healing. The vegetables in neat rows are for eating. The flowers that bloom wild in the meadow are for beauty and for the bees that will make honey. Summer brings long days when the sun seems reluctant to set, and you learn that work must be done while there is light to do it. You watch your parents move through their tasks with unhurried efficiency, never wasting motion or time. There is weeding to be done, animals to be tended, repairs to be made to cottage and fence and tool. Your own small tasks begin now, gathering eggs, pulling weeds, carrying water. Autumn teaches you about preparation and gratitude. The garden yields its final harvest, and you help gather the vegetables that will be stored for winter. Apples are picked and laid carefully in the root cellar. Herbs are cut and hung to dry from the cottage rafters. The last warm days are precious, to be savored like the honey your mother spreads sparingly on your morning bread. Winter is the season of storytelling and patience. When the work outside is finished and the animals are settled in their warm stalls, your family gathers around the fire for the long evenings. Your mother's hands are never idle. She spins wool into thread, mends clothes, prepares the simple materials that will become next year's necessities. Your father carves wooden tools, repairs leather goods, plans the work that will begin again when spring returns. You learn that nothing is wasted in your world. Scraps of food go to the animals. Worn clothing is torn into strips for rags or woven into new cloth. Broken tools are mended rather than discarded. Even the ashes from the fire have their use in the garden, returning minerals to the soil that will nourish next year's plants. This careful conservation isn't born of poverty, but of wisdom. The understanding that resources are precious and should be treated with respect. Sleep comes easily in this world of physical work and simple pleasures. Your bed is a straw mattress that is refreshed each harvest time, covered with the same wool blankets that warmed your parents in their childhood. The straw rustles softly when you move, a sound as comforting as your mother's lullabies. In winter, heated stones, wrapped in cloth, warm your feet. In summer, the cottage windows are left open to catch whatever breeze might stir the warm air. You learn that your world is small, but complete, bounded by the village common and the fields beyond, measured in footsteps rather than miles. Everyone knows everyone, and everyone has their place in the great pattern of planting and harvest, birth and growth, and the gentle passing of seasons. This is not a world of strangers, but of neighbors, not a place of competition, but of cooperation. You belong here as naturally as the trees belong in the forest, as the fish belong in the stream. Your toys are gifts from the earth and the workshop of necessity. A corn husk doll with a face drawn in charcoal becomes your constant companion, her soft body molding to your embrace as you carry her from task to task. Her dress is sewn from scraps of your mother's old apron, and her hair is made from the silky threads that grow beneath the corn kernels. She has no name because she doesn't need one. She is simply yours, and that is enough. The wooden horse your father carves during the long winter evenings is smooth as river stone, shaped from a piece of ash that fell in last autumn's storm. Your small hands trace the curve of its neck, the strong line of its back, the carefully carved legs that seem ready to gallop across imaginary fields. When you ride this horse, You travel far beyond the boundaries of your village to enchanted forests where unicorns drink from crystal streams to castle courtyards where knights prepare for noble quests. You discover that the best games require nothing more than imagination and the willingness to see magic in ordinary things. A overturned wooden bowl becomes a boat sailing across the earthen sea of your cottage floor. A stick is transformed into a sword, a wand, a fishing pole. Whatever your games require, smooth pebbles from the stream become coins in a merchant's purse, food for an elaborate feast, eggs in a bird's nest high in the rafters of your imagination. With the other village children, you learn the ancient games that have been passed down through generations without need of written rules. You play hide and seek among the haystacks and behind the broad trunks of oak trees, your heart beating with the delicious fear of being discovered and the greater joy of finding the perfect hiding place. The game of tag transforms the village common into a battlefield where speed and cunning determine victory. Ring-around Therapy teaches you the pleasure of movement in harmony with others, your voice joining the chorus of children's laughter as you spin faster and faster until the world becomes a blur of green grass and blue sky and the warm faces of your friends. When you all tumble down together in a giggling heap, you learn that falling can be just as much fun as standing, that sometimes the best moments come when you let go of control. You learn to weave grass into intricate braids, your fingers growing more skillful with each attempt. The older children teach you the patterns, simple plaits at first, then more complex designs that create beautiful geometric shapes. These grass sculptures are ephemeral art lasting only until the next rain or until someone's younger sibling discovers them and pulls them apart in the exploration of their own curiosity. Spinning tops carved from the wood scraps provide endless fascination as you learn to judge the exact force needed to set them dancing. Too gentle a spin, and they wobble and fall. Too vigorous, and they fly off course and crash into the cottage wall. But when you find that perfect balance of strength and direction, the top becomes a small miracle, spinning in place with hypnotic grace, while you and your friends watch in wonder. The art of stone skipping across the village pond requires patience and practice. You learn to select the flattest, smoothest stones, to judge the angle of your throw, to put just the right spin on the stone as it leaves your hand. The first time you achieve 3 skips, you feel as accomplished as any knight completing a heroic quest. The stone's journey across the water surface is brief, but perfect. A moment of triumph that will stay with you long after the ripples fade. Seasonal games mark the turning of the year, as surely as the changing weather. In spring, you and the other children gather the eggs that chickens have hidden in unlikely places around the village, turning the search into an elaborate treasure hunt. In summer, you learn to catch fireflies in your cupped hands, marveling at the tiny lights that pulse like earthbound stars. Autumn brings the joy of jumping into the great piles of leaves that have been raked from beneath the trees, the crisp, rustling sound mixing with your laughter. Winter games are quieter, but no less magical. You learn to build small figures from the snow, creating an entire village of snow people in the common. When ice forms on the shallow pond, you discover the joy of sliding across its surface, your feet finding purchase on the slippery mirror that reflects the gray winter sky. Icicles hanging from the cottage eaves become materials for temporary sculptures that will melt when the next warm day arrives. Storytelling becomes a game in itself as you and your friends take turns adding chapters to elaborate tales of adventure and wonder. One child begins with, "Once upon a time in a forest far from here," and each successive storyteller adds new elements, magical creatures, impossible challenges, surprising heroes. The stories grow more fantastic, with each telling limited only by your collective imagination and your ability to remember all the details that have come before. You learn to make music from whatever materials are at hand. Hollow reeds become simple flutes. Stretched animal hide over wooden frames creates drums that echo across the village common. Your own voice, joined with those of your friends, creates harmonies that have no need of formal training, songs that emerge naturally from shared play and shared joy. The games you play prepare you for the work you will one day do, though you don't recognize this education at the time. When you pretend to tend imaginary animals, you are learning the patience and responsibility that will be required of you as you grow older. When you practice weaving grass, your fingers are developing the dexterity that will serve you well when you learn to work with wool and flax. When you play house with your friends, you are rehearsing the roles of cooperation and care that will define your adult relationships. Even in play, you are never truly separated from the rhythms of adult life. Your games are interrupted by real responsibilities, helping to gather eggs, carrying water, watching younger children while parents work. But these interruptions are not resented. They are simply part of the natural flow of your days, as normal and necessary as eating and sleeping. Play and work blend together like water mixing with earth, creating the rich soil in which your character grows. The church bells call you across the village, common every Sunday morning, their bronze voices carrying across the thatched roofs and garden plots with an authority that speaks of centuries. You walk with your family along the worn path that countless other feet have traveled. Your best clothes, carefully mended and cleaned, marking this day as different from all others. The bells grow louder as you approach their resonance, seeming to enter your chest and vibrate in harmony with your heartbeat. The church door is massive oak, reinforced with iron, heavy enough to require your father's full strength to open. As you step across the threshold, the temperature drops noticeably, and your eyes need a moment to adjust to the dim interior lit only by candles and the colored light filtering through the few precious pieces of stained glass. The air smells of beeswax and incense-old wood and the accumulated prayers of generations. Your place is near the back of the nave among the other farming families whose rough hands and sun-weathered faces mark them as people who work the earth. The front pews are reserved for the Lord's family and the more prosperous merchants, but you feel no resentment at this arrangement. It seems as natural as the way different crops grow in different soil, each in their proper place, according to God's design. The stone walls rise high above you, carved with images that tell stories older than memory. Saints gaze down with serene faces, their stone eyes, seeming to follow you as you move through the sacred space. Angels spread wings that have been polished smooth by centuries of reverent touch. The carved figures seem alive in the flickering candlelight, as if they might step down from their niches and walk among the congregation. The priest speaks in Latin words that flow like music, even though you don't understand their literal meaning. But understanding comes in other ways. Through the rise and fall of his voice, the gestures of his hands, the familiar rhythms of prayers that your grandmother's grandmother knew by heart. When the congregation responds in unison, your voice joins the ancient chorus, adding your small note to the great song of faith that has been sung in this place for generations. You learn the calendar of feast days and holy seasons, each with its own colors and rituals and special foods. Christmas brings the wonder of candlelight services and the rare treat of honey cakes. Easter arrives with the joy of new life returning to the world, celebrated with eggs painted in bright colors and the first spring flowers gathered from the meadow. Saints' days throughout the year provide markers for the agricultural calendar. St. George's Day, for planting; St. John's Day, for the summer solstice; St. Michael's Day, for harvest. The rhythm of prayer becomes as natural as breathing. Morning prayers before the work begins, giving thanks for the night's rest and asking for strength for the day ahead. Evening prayers before sleep, offering gratitude for the day's blessings and seeking protection through the dark hours. Grace before meals, acknowledging that every bit of food is a gift not to be taken for granted. Quick prayers whispered in moments of crisis or joy, connecting you instantly to the divine presence that surrounds all life. Holy water from the font near the church door touches your forehead with coolness that seems to penetrate deeper than your skin. Your mother makes the sign of the cross over you each night. Before you sleep, her fingertips tracing the sacred symbol on your brow with a tenderness that speaks of love, both human and divine. These simple rituals create a sense of protection and belonging that extends far beyond your family to include all believers, past and present. The church graveyard tells the story of your community in weathered stone and simple wooden crosses. You learn to read the cycles of life in the dates carved into memorial stones, the short lines that mark children who didn't survive their first winter, the longer spans that speak of lives lived fully through decades of seasons. Flowers planted on the graves bloom and fade and bloom again, a natural resurrection that mirrors the hope at the heart of your faith. Confession becomes a regular cleansing of the soul, a chance to speak your small sins and receive absolutions that feels like cool water on a hot day. The priest's voice behind the wooden screen is gentle and understanding, never harsh in judgment. You learn that forgiveness is always available to those who seek it with sincere hearts, that no mistake is too great to be washed away by genuine repentance. The mystery of the Eucharist transforms simple bread and wine into something sacred and powerful. Though you won't receive communion until you're older, you watch the adults approach the altar with faces full of reverence and wonder. The bread that feeds your body at home becomes, in this sacred context, food for your soul, a miracle that happens quietly, without fanfare, but with transformative power. Religious festivals bring the entire village together in celebration that combines sacred and secular joy. Processions wind through the streets, carrying banners and holy relics, while children scatter flower petals in the path of the priest. Music and singing fill the air, along with the smells of special foods prepared only for these occasions. Dancing and games follow the formal ceremonies, as if joy itself is a form of worship. You learn that God is present not only in the church, but in every aspect of your daily life. The changing seasons reflect divine creativity. The successful harvest demonstrates divine providence. The love of your family mirrors divine love. The beauty of sunrise and sunset speaks of divine artistry. Prayer becomes not just formal words recited at specific times, but a constant awareness of the sacred dimension of ordinary experience. The saints become your special friends and protectors, each with their own areas of expertise and their own stories of faith and courage. Saint Francis watches over the animals in your care. Saint Barbara protects against storms and lightning. Saint Christopher guides travelers safely on their journeys. These heavenly companions make the spiritual world feel as real and immediate as the physical world of cottage and field and village. In quiet moments of private prayer, you discover that faith is not just about following rules or reciting words, but about opening your heart to something larger than yourself. Whether kneeling beside your bed before sleep or standing in the garden watching clouds move across the sky, you feel connected to a love that encompasses all creation. This awareness brings peace that penetrates deeper than any earthly comfort, a stillness that remains even in the midst of daily busyness and concern. Your first burden is the wooden bucket that fits your small hands, perfectly carved by your father from a single piece of oak and fitted with a handle smoothed by countless trips to the village well. The weight of water teaches your muscles to grow strong your back, to straighten under load your feet, to find balance on uneven ground. Each journey to the well and back becomes a lesson in responsibility. The family depends on this water for drinking, cooking, washing, and the dozen other tasks that sustain daily life. You carry the memory of your mother's lullaby songs without formal names that have been passed from mother to child for generations beyond counting. The melodies rise and fall like the wind in the wheat fields, carrying words that speak of love and protection and the enduring strength of family bonds. These songs live in your throat and heart, ready to comfort you in moments of loneliness or fear, ready to be shared with your own children when the time comes. In the leather pouch that hangs from your belt, you carry the treasures of childhood, a particularly beautiful stone found by the stream, a piece of carved wood that resembles a bird in flight, a pressed flower from your mother's garden. These objects have no value in the marketplace, but they anchor you to specific moments of wonder and discovery. The smooth stone remembers the morning you found it gleaming in the shallow water. The wooden bird carries the memory of the afternoon. You first noticed how light could transform an ordinary scrap into something magical. Your father teaches you to carry tools with respect and care. The small knife he makes for you is sharp enough to be useful, but sized for your hands and skill. Level, you learn to keep it clean and dry, to sharpen it regularly on the whetstone, to handle it with the attention it deserves. This blade will serve you through all your years, cutting food, shaping wood, performing the 1,000 small tasks that require a keen edge. The way you care for it reflects the way you care for everything else in your life. You carry the accumulated wisdom of your elders passed down not through books, but through direct instruction and careful observation. Your grandmother's hands show you how to knead bread dough until it reaches the perfect texture, smooth and elastic, neither too sticky nor too dry. Your father's voice guides you through the proper way to approach a nervous animal, moving slowly and speaking softly until trust is established. Your mother's example teaches you to notice the small signs that indicate when someone needs help or comfort. The weight of expectations settles on your shoulders gradually, so gently that you hardly notice its accumulation. You are expected to help with daily tasks according to your ability and age. You are expected to show respect to your elders and kindness to those younger than yourself. You are expected to work hard, speak truthfully, and contribute to the welfare of your family and community. These expectations are not burdens, but guideposts that help you understand your place in the larger pattern of human relationships. Your share of the family's worries grows heavier as you mature. You begin to understand that the success or failure of the harvest affects not just the amount of food on your table, but the family's ability to pay taxes, to buy necessary goods to survive the winter months. You learn to read the signs of weather and season with your father, watching clouds and wind patterns for clues about what tomorrow might bring. Good weather brings relief. Threatening skies bring anxiety that you feel in your stomach like a physical weight. You carry forward the stories of your ancestors, tales told around the winter fire about grandparents and great-grandparents who faced hardships with courage and dignity. These stories are your inheritance, more valuable than any material possession because they teach you who you are and where you come from. The story of your great-grandfather who saved the village harvest during a particularly difficult year. The tale of your grandmother who nursed half the village through a terrible illness. These narratives become part of your own identity models of the kind of person you aspire to become. In your heart, you carry the accumulated love of your family, every gentle touch, every word of encouragement, every moment of shared laughter and joy. This love becomes your strength in difficult times, your inspiration when you face challenges, your guide when you must make important decisions. It is invisible, but more real than the wooden bucket in your hands, more valuable than the tools on your belt, more lasting than any material possession. Your developing body carries the skills that will define your adult life. Your hands learn the feel of different woods, the way each grain responds to pressure and tools. Your eyes develop the ability to judge distance and proportion without conscious thought. Your nose learns to distinguish between the scents that indicate health or sickness in animals, ripeness or spoilage, in stored food, the approach of rain or the promise of clear weather. You carry your prayers like invisible companions, words, and intentions that connect you to the divine presence that permeates all existence. The morning prayer that asks for strength and guidance, the evening prayer that offers gratitude for the day's blessings, the quick, wordless prayers that rise from your heart in moments of crisis or sudden joy. These prayers are always with you, ready to be spoken or simply felt, creating a continuous conversation between your soul and the source of all life. The burden of knowledge grows heavier as you learn more about the wider world beyond your village. You discover that there are places where the harvest fails and people go hungry, where wars disrupt the peaceful rhythms of agricultural life, where disease sweeps through communities like wildfire. This knowledge brings both sadness and gratitude. Sadness for the suffering of others, gratitude for the relative safety and security of your own situation. Your name carries the weight of all who have borne it before you, connecting you to a lineage that stretches back through generations. When your father's father calls you by name, you hear the echo of all the children he has known and loved. When your mother speaks your name with pride or gentle correction, you understand that you are both yourself and part of something larger, a family, a community, a tradition that will continue long after your own voice falls silent. Your first real work begins before dawn, when your father's gentle shake awakens you to the responsibility of caring for the animals that sustain your family. The chickens cluster in their roost, feathers fluffed against the pre-dawn chill, and they greet your approach with soft murmurs of recognition. Your small hands scatter grain in careful handfuls, watching as the birds emerge one by one to begin their day of foraging and laying. The cow waits patiently in her stall, her warm breath visible in the cool air, her large brown eyes reflecting the lantern light with gentle trust. Your mother teaches you to approach her slowly and speak softly, to place your hands on her warm flank before beginning the rhythmic process of milking. The sweet smell of fresh milk mingles with the earthy scents of hay and animal warmth, creating an atmosphere of peace and productivity that will forever define your understanding of honest work. Learning to use tools properly becomes a daily education in patience and precision. The hoe that breaks up soil around growing plants must be swung with just enough force to disturb the weeds without damaging the crops. The rake that gathers hay must be drawn smoothly and steadily to create neat windrows that will dry properly in the sun. Your hands develop calluses in specific patterns that mark you as someone who works with purpose and skill. In the garden behind your cottage, you learn to read the subtle language of growing things. Tomato plants that droop slightly in the afternoon heat are asking for water. Bean vines that climb vigorously up their wooden supports are thriving and will soon provide food for the family table. Herbs that release their fragrance when brushed by your passing feet are ready for harvest and preservation. This knowledge comes not from books, but from daily observation and the accumulated wisdom of your elders. Your father shows you how to judge the readiness of grain by the color of the stalks and the weight of the heads. When the wheat has reached perfect ripeness, the entire village mobilizes for harvest, a community effort that requires speed and cooperation to gather the crop before weather can damage it. Your small sickle cuts through the golden stalks with a satisfying whisper, each armload adding to the growing pile that represents food security for the coming year. The rhythm of seasonal work becomes the heartbeat of your existence. Spring brings the urgency of planting, when every day of good weather must be utilized to get seeds into the ground at the optimal time. Summer demands constant vigilance, weeding, watering, protecting crops from pests and animals. Autumn is the season of harvest and preservation when the year's work is gathered and prepared for storage. Winter brings its own tasks, repairing tools, mending clothes, planning for the coming year. You discover that every task, no matter how simple it might appear, requires skill and attention to detail. Splitting wood efficiently requires understanding grain patterns and choosing exactly where to place the axe blade. Preserving vegetables for winter storage demands knowledge of which varieties keep best and how to create the proper conditions for long-term preservation. Even sweeping the cottage floor becomes an art when you learn to move the broom in patterns that gather dust and debris most effectively. Working alongside your parents teaches you lessons that extend far beyond the specific tasks at hand. You learn that complaining about necessary work only makes it harder, while approaching tasks with a willing spirit makes even difficult jobs more bearable. You discover that taking pride in work well done brings satisfaction that lasts long after the physical effort is forgotten. You understand that cutting corners or doing sloppy work creates problems that require much more effort to fix later. The tools of your trade become extensions of your body through constant use. The handle of your favorite hoe fits your grip, perfectly worn smooth by your palms, and shaped to your particular way of working. Your small knife stays sharp because you've learned to maintain it properly, treating it with the respect that good tools deserve. The wooden bucket you carry develops a patina from your hands, becoming uniquely yours through the intimate contact of daily use. Physical work builds more than just muscle and endurance. It develops character traits that will serve you throughout your life. Persistence comes from pushing through fatigue to complete necessary tasks. Patience develops as you learn that good results often require time and careful attention. Problem-solving skills emerge when you encounter obstacles and must find creative solutions using available resources. You learn to coordinate your efforts with others during community work projects. When the village repairs the common well, everyone contributes according to their ability, men providing the heavy labor, women preparing food for the workers, children running errands and carrying tools. The satisfaction of completing a task that benefits everyone in the village teaches you about the rewards of working for the common good rather than just personal benefit. Weather becomes your constant companion and sometimes your adversary. You learn to read cloud formations and wind patterns to predict when conditions will be favorable for different types of work. A gentle, steady rain is welcomed by newly planted seeds, but can be disastrous for grain that is ready for harvest. Hot, dry weather is perfect for making hay, but dangerous for crops that need consistent moisture. Working with weather, rather than against it, becomes a fundamental skill. The cycle of planning, working, and results repeats throughout each year and teaches you about the relationship between effort and outcome. Seeds planted with care in well-prepared soil generally produce good crops. Tools maintained properly last longer and work more efficiently. Animals treated with kindness and consistency provide better milk, eggs, and meat. The natural world responds to good stewardship with abundance, while neglect or carelessness leads to poor results. Your hands become libraries of tactile knowledge. You can judge the moisture content of soil by how it feels between your fingers. The temperature of a sick animal tells you important information about its condition. The texture of bread dough reveals whether it needs more flour or additional kneading. This physical intelligence, developed through countless hours of meaningful work, becomes one of your most valuable possessions. Love arrives in your life, wearing the familiar faces of family, as natural and necessary as breathing. Your mother's hands, rough from work, but gentle in their touch, speak a language of care that needs no words. When fever burns through your small body during the difficult winter months, those hands cool your forehead with cloths dipped in well water, their patient ministrations more healing than any medicine. Her voice humming the old songs while she works creates a soundtrack of security that follows you through all your days. Your father's love expresses itself through teaching and protection, through the patient way he shows you how to hold tools properly, and the quiet strength of his presence during thunderstorms. When you wake frightened in the night, his steady breathing from the other side of the cottage reassures you that all is well. His rough beard scratches your cheek when he lifts you to his shoulders, giving you a view of the world from adult height, and the thrilling sense of being carried by someone who would never let you fall. Your grandmother's love comes wrapped in stories and wisdom, in the way her eyes crinkle with delight when you master a new skill or ask a particularly thoughtful question. Her lap is the perfect size for a small child, and her voice carries the authority of years and experience. She teaches you to identify herbs by their smell and to read weather signs in the behavior of animals. When she speaks of her own childhood, you understand that love creates bridges across generations, connecting you to ancestors you will never meet, but whose lives shaped the world you inhabit. The village children become your first friends, and with them, you discover the fierce loyalty that binds those who share both play and responsibility. Margaret, whose laughter rings like church bells across the common, teaches you that joy can be multiplied by sharing it. Thomas, serious and careful, even at 7 years old, shows you the value of thinking before acting. Little Anna, barely old enough to walk steadily, follows you everywhere with the complete trust that only very young children can offer. As you grow older, your circle of affection expands to include the neighbors who form the extended family of your village community. Master Edmund, the blacksmith whose arms are thick as tree trunks from years of working iron, always has a kind word and sometimes a small treat for children who stop to watch him work. His wife, Goodwife Ellen, teaches the village girls to spin wool into thread, her patient instructions, accompanied by stories that make the work pass quickly. You learn that love takes many forms and serves many purposes. The practical love that motivates your mother to mend your clothes and prepare your meals is different from, but no less valuable, than the playful love that inspires your father to carve wooden toys during winter evenings. The protective love that keeps your family safe is different from the community love that binds the village together, but both are necessary for the full flowering of human happiness. When you reach the age where marriage becomes a possibility, love reveals new dimensions of complexity and wonder. The young woman who catches your attention across the village common has eyes that seem to hold secrets you want to spend a lifetime discovering. The way she laughs at something her friend whispers, makes your heart beat faster and fills you with the urgent desire to be the cause of such joy. Her name becomes precious to you, spoken silently when you wake and whispered into your pillow before sleep. Courtship in your time and place is a careful dance of respect and gradually increasing intimacy. You find excuses to walk past her family's cottage, hoping for a glimpse of her hanging washing on the line or working in their garden. When you finally gather courage to speak with her, the conversation is stilted and formal, but her smile encourages you to try again. Slowly, over months of brief encounters and carefully chaperoned meetings, you discover the person behind the beautiful face. Your beloved's family becomes important to you as you understand that loving her means embracing everyone and everything that has shaped her life. Her father's approval matters because his good opinion of you will affect her happiness. Her mother's acceptance is crucial because the two women will work together daily. After marriage, and harmony between them will determine the peace of your household. Even her younger siblings become precious because they are part of the constellation of relationships that surround the woman you hope to marry. The formal asking for her hand in marriage requires courage that you must summon from the deepest parts of yourself. Standing before her father, speaking the words that will either grant or deny your heart's greatest desire, you feel the weight of tradition and the power of love pressing down on your shoulders. When he gives his consent, the relief and joy nearly overwhelm you. When she accepts your proposal with downcast eyes and a smile that transforms her entire face, you understand that your life has just begun its most important chapter. The wedding celebration brings together both families and the entire village in recognition that marriage is not just a private commitment between two people, but a public affirmation that strengthens the whole community. The simple ceremony in the village church blesses your union in the sight of God and neighbors. The feast that follows, modest by grand standards, but generous according to your family's means, celebrates the creation of a new household and the continuation of the ancient patterns that bind generations together. Your wife brings to your marriage not only her own capacity for love, but also her unique perspective on the world, her particular skills and interests, her individual dreams and concerns. Learning to blend two separate lives into one shared existence requires patience, compromise, and the daily choice to put the welfare of your partnership above your individual preferences. The small cottage that becomes your first home together is transformed by her presence into something warmer and more complete than anything you could have created alone. Children arrive as the natural expression of marital love, each new baby bringing fresh wonder and deeper responsibility. Holding your first child in your arms, you understand that love can expand infinitely without diminishing in intensity. The sleepless nights and constant demands of infant care test your patience and endurance, but they also reveal wells of tenderness and protectiveness you never knew you possessed. As your children grow, you rediscover the world through their eyes and experience the peculiar joy of watching small personalities emerge and develop. Each child is unique, one bold and adventurous, another gentle and thoughtful, a third blessed with natural musical talent or artistic ability. Learning to love each child according to their individual nature, while treating all with equal fairness, becomes one of the great challenges and satisfactions of parenthood. The love within your family extends outward to embrace the broader community of neighbors and friends who share your joys and sorrows, your celebrations and crises. When illness strikes your household, neighbors appear with offers of help and homemade remedies. When your harvest is particularly abundant, you share the surplus with families who have been less fortunate. This network of mutual care and support creates a safety net that catches everyone when they fall and celebrates with everyone when they prosper. Your first construction project is a simple lean-to shelter for the chickens built from scrap wood and your father's patient guidance. The structure is not elegant, but it serves its purpose, keeping the birds dry during spring rains and providing them with a sense of security during the night hours when foxes prowl the edges of the village. Your small hands learn to grip the hammer properly, to drive nails straight and true, to measure twice before cutting. The satisfaction of completing this modest project teaches you that building requires both vision and practical skill. The cottage that will house your new family begins as a careful selection of trees from the village common, each one chosen for its size, straightness, and freedom from rot or pest damage. You learn to read the grain of wood, to understand how different types of trees serve different purposes in construction. Oak provides strength for the framework. Pine offers lighter weight for interior work. The act of felling these trees feels both destructive and creative. You are ending their lives as growing things in order to transform them into the bones of human shelter. Working with your hands in earth and wood and stone connects you to the fundamental human need to shape the environment for safety and comfort. The foundation of your cottage must be level and well-drained, which means moving many wheelbarrows of soil and carefully placing stones to create a stable base. Your back aches from the repetitive lifting and carrying, but your spirit soars with the knowledge that every stone you place brings your family closer to having a secure home. The walls rise slowly, each log fitted carefully to the one below. It gaps, chinked with a mixture of mud and straw that will harden to keep out wind and rain. You learn that building is as much about patience as it is about skill. Rushing leads to mistakes that are difficult to correct, while steady, methodical work produces results that will last for generations. Your father's voice guides you through the tricky process of cutting notches that will hold the logs securely in place. Raising the roof beam requires the help of neighbors, and the barn raising becomes a community celebration that combines work with fellowship. Men and women arrive early in the morning, bringing tools and energy, and the knowledge that their assistance today will be repaid when they face similar projects. The heavy timbers that seemed impossible for one family to manage are lifted into place by many hands working together, accompanied by songs that help coordinate the effort and traditional jokes that make the hard work more enjoyable. The thatched roof takes shape under your mother's expert guidance, her hands having learned the ancient art from her own mother and grandmother before her. Bundles of straw are laid in overlapping rows that will shed water while allowing the cottage to breathe. The pattern is both functional and beautiful, creating gentle curves that please the eye while serving the practical purpose of keeping your family dry. Your fingers learn to tie the knots that hold the thatch in place, each one a small but crucial element in the larger structure. Building the central fireplace and chimney requires different skills and different materials. Stones must be selected for their ability to withstand heat without cracking. Clay must be mixed to the proper consistency to serve as mortar that will hold the structure together and seal the gaps against dangerous smoke. The firebox must be shaped to draw properly, creating a draft that will carry smoke up and out rather than filling the cottage with dangerous fumes. Your furniture grows slowly over several years, each piece crafted during winter evenings when outdoor work is impossible. The table that will anchor your kitchen begins as a section of oak trunk, carefully split and planed smooth by hand. Chairs are carved from single pieces of wood, shaped to fit the human body and sized for the members of your family. A chest for storing clothes and linens requires joinery skills that challenge your growing abilities, teaching you the patience and precision required for work that must endure for decades. The garden that will feed your family requires as much construction as cultivation. Raised beds must be built and filled with good soil, carefully composted from kitchen scraps and animal manure. Fences must be erected to protect growing plants from the chickens and goats that would otherwise make quick work of your vegetables. A well-planned garden is a construction project that combines architecture with agriculture, creating an outdoor room that is both beautiful and productive. Building water systems brings the life-giving resource from its source to the places where your family needs it most. A simple aqueduct of hollowed logs carries fresh water from the spring to a barrel near your kitchen door. Drainage ditches protect your cottage foundation from standing water that could cause rot and instability. These water management projects require understanding of how gravity and ground slope work together to move water where you want it to go. The workshop, where you will repair tools and create household necessities, grows organically as your skills and needs develop. A sturdy workbench provides a stable surface for detailed work. Shelves and pegboards organize tools so they can be found quickly when needed. Good lighting achieved through careful placement of windows and oil lamps makes precision work possible even during the short days of winter. This space becomes the heart of your productivity, where broken things are made whole and raw materials are transformed into useful objects. Building projects teach you to think in terms of decades rather than seasons. The stone wall that marks your property boundary is built to last longer than your own lifetime, a permanent addition to the landscape that will guide and protect your children and their children. Each stone is placed with care, not just for its immediate function, but for its contribution to a structure that will endure through generations of weather and use. Your granary requires special construction techniques to protect the grain that represents your family's food security. The foundation must be raised off the ground to prevent moisture and discourage rodents. The walls must be tight enough to keep out insects, but allow sufficient air circulation to prevent spoilage. The roof must shed water perfectly while providing easy access for storing and retrieving grain. Building this structure successfully means your family will eat well, even in years when the harvest is poor. The legacy of what you build extends far beyond the physical structures themselves. In teaching your sons to work with wood and stone, you pass on skills that connect them to generations of craftsmen who have shaped the human environment. In showing your daughters how to design and organize living spaces, you prepare them to create homes that will nurture their own families. The act of building becomes a form of communication across time, speaking to future generations about the values and priorities that guided your choices. As your building skills develop over the years, you take on more ambitious projects that serve the entire community, helping to construct a new bridge across the stream that separates the village from the fields, creates a lasting improvement that benefits everyone, contributing to the expansion of the village church, allows for a larger congregation and more elaborate celebrations of the religious calendar. These community building projects teach you that individual skill, combined with collective effort, can create structures that no single person could accomplish alone. Your first lessons in healing come from your mother's gentle hands as she tends to the small injuries and illnesses that are part of childhood. A cut finger receives careful washing with water drawn fresh from the well, followed by the application of honey that helps prevent infection while the wound heals. The sting of scraped knees is soothed with cool cloths and comforting words teaching you that healing involves both physical treatment and emotional comfort. The herb garden behind your cottage becomes your first pharmacy, each plant carefully tended for its medicinal properties as much as its culinary uses. Chamomile flowers dried and stored in clay pots provide tea that calms upset stomachs and helps restless children fall asleep. Willow bark harvested in spring when the sap runs high offers pain relief. When chewed or brewed into bitter tea, your mother teaches you to identify each plant by sight, smell, and taste, building a living reference library that will serve you throughout your life. Preparation of remedies becomes a seasonal rhythm as important as any other agricultural activity. Summer brings the harvest of fresh herbs, which must be dried properly to preserve their healing properties through the winter months. Roots are dug in autumn when their medicinal compounds are most concentrated. Seeds and berries are collected at peak ripeness and processed into tinctures and powders that will maintain their potency for months or even years. You learn that healing begins with careful observation and patient listening. When a neighbor complains of persistent headaches, you must consider many possible causes: lack of sleep, poor diet, worry about family, or crops changes in weather that affect sensitive people. The art of diagnosis involves asking the right questions and reading the subtle signs that bodies provide when they are out of balance. Sometimes the most important medicine is simply taking time to listen with genuine concern and attention. The village wise woman teaches you to read the more complex signs of serious illness. Fever that comes and goes follows different patterns depending on its cause. The color and clarity of urine provide important information about the health of internal organs. Changes in appetite, sleep patterns, and energy levels all offer clues about what might be going wrong in the delicate balance that maintains health and vitality. Preparing poultices and salves requires understanding how different plants work together to enhance each other's healing properties. Comfrey leaves known for their ability to help bones and tissues mend, are combined with calendula flowers that reduce inflammation and fight infection. The mixture is bound with animal fat that helps the active compounds penetrate the skin and reach the areas that need healing. Your hands learn to judge the proper consistency, thick enough to stay in place but not so stiff that it can't spread easily. You discover that healing often requires patience and faith as much as it needs specific treatments. A broken bone must be set properly and then allowed the time it needs to knit back together. Rushing the process or failing to keep the injury properly immobilized can result in permanent disability. The weeks of careful tending, regular checking, and gradual return to normal activity teach both healer and patient about the body's remarkable ability to repair itself when given proper support. Emotional healing proves just as important as physical treatment, and often the two cannot be separated. A person whose spirit is crushed by loss or disappointment may struggle to recover from even minor physical ailments. Learning to provide comfort and hope becomes part of your healing practice, whether through gentle conversation, shared meals, or simply the reassuring presence of someone who cares about their welfare. The cycles of women's health require special knowledge and sensitivity. You learn to prepare the herbs that ease monthly discomfort and support the body through the changes of pregnancy and childbirth. The mysteries of bringing new life into the world demand skills that blend practical knowledge with intuitive understanding. Assisting at births teaches you about the incredible strength of the human body and the importance of creating calm, supportive environments during times of vulnerability. Seasonal illnesses follow predictable patterns that allow for preparation and prevention. The chest congestion that accompanies cold, damp weather can be eased with steam tents created by hanging blankets over pots of boiling water infused with mint and pine needles. The stomach troubles that sometimes follow feast days respond well to gentle fasting and tea made from ginger root. Understanding these patterns helps you anticipate problems and respond quickly when they arise. Working with animals teaches you that healing principles apply across species. A horse with a strained muscle benefits from the same type of rest and gentle massage that helps human injuries heal. Chickens with respiratory problems recover more quickly when their living conditions are improved and their diet is supplemented with herbs that support healthy breathing. These experiences broaden your understanding of how living beings respond to treatment and care. You learn to distinguish between conditions that respond well to home treatment and those that require more specialized knowledge or intervention. A simple cut can be handled with cleaning and protection, but deep wounds that won't stop bleeding need more aggressive treatment. Persistent fevers that don't respond to usual remedies may indicate serious problems that require consultation with the village priest or a traveling physician, if one can be found. The preparation of medicines becomes a meditative practice that connects you to generations of healers who have gathered and prepared these same plants. Grinding dried herbs with mortar and pestle requires steady rhythm and attention to detail. The repetitive motion and focus on the task at hand create a state of calm concentration that seems to imbue the finished medicine with extra healing power. You begin to understand that the intention and care of the healer becomes part of the treatment. Mental and spiritual health require their own forms of healing attention. Prayer and meditation provide ways to calm anxious minds and restore emotional balance. Regular participation in community activities helps prevent the isolation that can lead to despair. Meaningful work and creative expression offer outlets for the human need to feel useful and productive. Sometimes the best medicine is helping someone find renewed purpose and connection to the larger community. Your reputation as a healer grows slowly through successful treatments and word-of-mouth recommendations. People begin to seek your advice for problems both large and small. A mother brings her child with persistent cough. An elderly farmer asks for help with aching joints that worsen in damp weather. Young couples request herbs that are believed to promote fertility and healthy pregnancies. Each successful treatment adds to your knowledge and confidence while deepening your sense of responsibility to those who trust you with their well-being. The integration of healing practices into daily life means that medicine is not separate from other aspects of living, but woven into the fabric of ordinary experience. The same herbs that flavor your cooking also support digestive health. The physical work that sustains your family also maintains strength and flexibility. The social connections that make life meaningful also provide the emotional support that promotes resilience and recovery. Healing becomes not something you do, but something you live a way of being in the world that supports health and wholeness for yourself and your community. Your faith grows from the soil of daily experience, nurtured by the rhythms of seasons and the unchanging patterns of human need and divine provision. Each morning begins with gratitude for the gift of another day, for the strength to work, and the love that surrounds you. The simple act of breaking your fast becomes a communion with the source of all sustenance, an acknowledgement that every grain of barley and drop of milk represents grace made manifest in the physical world. The mystery of creation reveals itself in countless small miracles that fill your ordinary days. Seeds planted in dark earth somehow know to send roots downward and shoots toward the light. Baby animals emerge perfectly formed from their mothers' bodies, already equipped with the instincts they need to survive and thrive. The sun rises and sets with reliable punctuality, marking time and seasons that govern all life on earth. These phenomena feel miraculous rather than mundane evidence of divine intelligence and care. Prayer becomes as natural as breathing a constant conversation with the presence that permeates all existence. Morning prayers ask for guidance and protection through the day ahead. Evening prayers offer thanks for blessings received and forgiveness for any failures or mistakes. Quick prayers throughout the day connect you to divine support in moments of need or sudden joy. This ongoing dialogue creates a sense of companionship that prevents loneliness even in solitary moments. The church calendar provides structure for your spiritual life, marking holy seasons with special observances and traditional customs. Advent brings anticipation and preparation for the celebration of Christ's birth. Lent offers a time for reflection and simple living that prepares hearts for the joy of Easter. Saints' days throughout the year provide opportunities to consider different models of faithfulness and to ask for intercession in specific areas of need. These celebrations connect your personal faith to the larger community of believers across space and time. You learn that faith and reason work together rather than against each other, each providing different but complementary ways of understanding truth. The practical knowledge needed to grow crops and heal sickness comes through observation and experience. The spiritual wisdom that guides moral choices and provides meaning for suffering comes through revelation and contemplation. Both kinds of knowledge are necessary for living fully human lives that honor both earthly responsibilities and eternal purposes. The presence of evil in the world poses questions that require mature faith to address. Crop failures, diseases, accidents, and deaths test your trust in divine goodness and providence. You learn that faith does not require understanding everything that happens, but rather trusting that ultimate meaning and purpose exist even when immediate circumstances seem senseless or unfair. The community of believers provides support during times of doubt and loss, offering shared strength when individual faith wavers. Miracles appear regularly in your world, though they seldom take the dramatic forms described in Scripture. A sick child recovers unexpectedly after the entire village prays for healing. Rain comes at exactly the right moment to save a failing harvest. A dangerous situation resolves peacefully when by all logic it should have ended in disaster. These interventions feel clearly supernatural to those who experience them, evidence that divine power remains active in the ordinary affairs of human life. Your understanding of sin and forgiveness develops through personal experience with moral failure and divine mercy. The lies you tell to avoid punishment, the anger you feel toward neighbors who offend you, the envy that arises when others prosper while you struggle. These failures of character cause real guilt and separation from the peace that comes with right living. But confession and repentance consistently restore the broken relationship, offering fresh starts and renewed hope for moral improvement. The mystery of suffering challenges your faith while also deepening it. When good people face terrible hardships and evil people seem to prosper, simple explanations prove inadequate. You learn to hold questions and uncertainties alongside faith and trust, accepting that human understanding has limits, while divine wisdom encompasses realities beyond mortal comprehension. The example of others who have maintained faith through severe trials provides encouragement when your own circumstances test your spiritual resolve. Scripture comes alive through regular hearing and gradual memorization, the ancient words taking on fresh meaning as your life experience grows. The stories of Abraham's journey, Moses' leadership, David's struggles, and Jesus' teachings speak directly to your own challenges and hopes. The Psalms provide language for expressing both despair and joy, fear and confidence, doubt and certainty. These texts become internal resources that surface automatically in moments when you need wisdom or comfort. The supernatural realm feels close and real in your daily experience. Angels are understood to be active agents of divine protection and guidance. Saints who have completed their earthly journeys remain available to pray for those still struggling with mortal challenges. The souls of departed family members and friends are believed to maintain interest in the welfare of those they left behind. This populated spiritual world provides comfort and connection that extends far beyond the visible community of living neighbors. Your moral choices reflect the integration of faith into practical living, honesty in business dealings, generosity to those in need, faithfulness in marriage, and kindness to enemies are not just rules to follow, but expressions of the divine nature that faith seeks to embody. When these choices require sacrifice or difficulty, the motivation comes not from fear of punishment, but from love for the God who first loved humanity enough to share in human suffering and death. The hope of eternal life transforms your understanding of earthly existence without diminishing its importance. Death is real and painful, but it is not the end of personal existence or meaningful relationship. The promise of resurrection gives significance to every choice and relationship, making current struggles bearable and current joys precious. Life on earth becomes preparation for something greater while remaining valuable in its own right, as the arena where character is formed and divine purposes are served. Community worship amplifies individual faith through shared rituals and collective celebration. Singing hymns with your neighbors creates harmony that seems to echo heavenly music. Participating in communion connects you to believers across centuries who have shared the same symbols of divine love and sacrifice. The architecture of sacred space, soaring ceilings, colored light through stained glass, carved images of saints and angels, lifts the spirit and imagination toward transcendent realities. Your faith evolves and matures as you move through different life stages, facing new challenges and responsibilities that require deeper understanding and stronger trust. The simple faith of childhood gives way to the tested faith of adolescence, which in turn develops into the mature faith of adulthood that has weathered storms and celebrated victories. Each stage brings its own insights and its own questions, creating a lifelong journey of spiritual growth that parallels physical and emotional development. The integration of faith into ordinary life means that sacred and secular activities lose their sharp distinction. Working in the garden becomes a form of cooperation with divine creativity. Caring for family members expresses the love that God shows for all creation. Even rest and recreation honor the divine design that includes joy and renewal as necessary elements of fully human existence. Faith becomes not something added to life, but the foundation and framework that gives meaning and direction to everything else. Your bed is a universe of comfort carved from the simplest materials, a straw mattress that rustles softly when you turn in your sleep, releasing the sweet scent of last summer's harvest. The wooden frame built by your father's hands from oak that grew slowly in the village. Common supports not just your body, but your dreams, your worries, your plans for tomorrow. The mattress is refreshed each autumn with fresh straw, turning the practical necessity of sleep into a celebration of the year's abundance. The wool blankets that cover you carry the warmth of the sheep that gave their fleece and the love of the women who spun it into thread and wove it into cloth. Each fiber holds memory. Summer days when the sheep grazed in meadows full of wildflowers. Autumn nights when your mother and grandmother worked by firelight to prepare winter's protection. The weight of these covers creates a sense of security that helps release the tensions of the day and welcome the restoration that sleep provides. Your pillow stuffed with goose down, saved from many meals throughout the year, cradles your head with softness that seems almost magical after long days of physical labor. The linen covering, woven from flax, grown in the village fields, and bleached white by repeated washings in the stream, feels cool and smooth against your cheek. This luxury, small by modern standards, but precious in your world, reminds you each night that you are loved and worthy of comfort. The room you sleep in serves multiple purposes during the day: eating, working, socializing. But night transforms it into a sanctuary of rest and dreams. Shadows from the dying fire dance on the walls, creating an ever-changing tapestry of light and darkness that soothes your eyes as they grow heavy. The familiar sounds of your family settling into sleep around you, soft breathing, the creak of settling timbers, the whisper of straw mattresses, create a symphony of peace and security. Your evening routine prepares both body and spirit for the journey into sleep. Washing hands and face with water from the basin removes the day's accumulation of dust and sweat, a ritual cleansing that marks the transition from work to rest. Prayers spoken quietly by your bedside offer gratitude for the day's blessings and place any worries or concerns into divine hands for safekeeping through the night hours. The darkness that comes with sleep is not empty, but full of mystery and possibility. Dreams carry you to places beyond the boundaries of your village, into fantastic landscapes where anything might happen. Sometimes you soar over vast forests and shining rivers. Other nights you find yourself in grand castles or magical gardens where flowers sing and animals speak in human voices. These nocturnal adventures provide escape and wonder that balance the practical demands of waking life. Sleep knits up the raveled sleeve of care, as poets will someday write, restoring your body from the day's exertion and preparing your mind for tomorrow's challenges. During the deep hours of night, muscles repair themselves and grow stronger. Memories sort themselves into proper order, preserving what is important and letting go of what is not needed. The spirit finds renewal in the temporary absence of conscious will and worry. Seasonal changes affect the quality and duration of your rest. Summer nights are short but comfortable, with warm air flowing through open windows and the distant sounds of night birds and insects creating nature's lullaby. You sleep lightly during these brief dark hours, often waking naturally just before dawn, without need of any timepiece. The extended daylight of summer means later bedtimes, but also earlier risings, following the rhythm of the sun. Winter sleep is longer and deeper, a hibernation that helps humans survive the season of scarcity and cold. Extra blankets and heated stones wrapped in cloth warm your bed against the chill that seeps through walls and windows. The long nights provide extended rest that restores energy depleted by the extra effort required to stay warm and find food during the harsh months. Dreams during winter often feature warmth, abundance, and the return of spring. Illness transforms your bed from a place of simple rest into a sanctuary of healing. When fever burns through your body Cool cloths replace the usual warm covers. When injury prevents normal movement, your bed becomes the center of your world, surrounded by the medicines and foods that will restore your health. Family members take turns sitting beside you, their presence and care as healing as any remedy they might offer. The beds of childhood differ from those of maturity, changing as your needs and circumstances evolve. As a small child, you often share sleep space with siblings or even parents, learning that rest can be communal and that the breathing of beloved others nearby enhances rather than disturbs peaceful slumber. The transition to your own sleeping space marks a passage toward independence while maintaining connection to the family unit. Your marriage bed becomes a sacred space shared with your beloved, a place where intimate conversation and tender touch deepen the bond between husband and wife. The privacy created by drawn curtains or a separate sleeping chamber allows for the expressions of love that strengthen marriage and create the emotional foundation for raising children. This shared rest, night after night for decades, creates intimacy that extends far beyond the physical act of sleeping in the same space. Pregnancy and new parenthood transform sleep patterns and sleeping arrangements to accommodate the needs of new life. The cradle placed beside your bed allows for quick response to infant needs while maintaining the rest necessary for nursing mothers. The irregular sleep that comes with caring for babies teaches patience and adaptability, while the sweetness of a child sleeping peacefully provides compensation for the lost hours of uninterrupted rest. Age changes the nature of sleep, bringing both challenges and compensations. Older bodies may require more time to find comfortable positions, and aches and pains may interrupt the easy sleep of youth. But experience brings wisdom about what promotes good rest: the right foods, the proper amount of activity, the peace of mind that comes from accepting life's limitations and finding joy in simple pleasures. The deathbed, when it comes, is the final resting place in this world, before the ultimate rest that awaits beyond earthly existence. Family members gather around to offer comfort and say farewell, creating a bridge between this life and whatever comes next. The peaceful sleep that often precedes death provides a gentle transition, allowing the soul to slip away surrounded by love and prayer. Your daytime rest, though brief, provides essential renewal during long seasons of intense work. The midday nap beneath a shady tree during harvest time offers escape from the heat and restoration of energy for afternoon labor. Moments of quiet contemplation while sitting on the doorstep in evening light provide mental rest that is as important as physical relaxation. Even the simple act of pausing to watch clouds drift across the sky offers a form of rest that refreshes the spirit. The communal rest that occurs during festivals and holy days reminds you that rest is not just personal necessity, but social good. When the entire village observes the Sabbath, the shared cessation of work creates a different quality of time devoted to worship, reflection, and gentle fellowship. These periodic pauses in the relentless demands of survival create space for the human activities that distinguish people from animals: art, music, story, prayer, and the cultivation of relationships that exist for their own sake rather than for practical purposes. Memory lives in your hands, as much as in your mind, preserved in the calluses that tell the story of every tool you've mastered and every task you've repeated through countless seasons. Your fingers remember the exact pressure needed to milk the cow without causing discomfort, the precise angle for swinging the scythe that cuts grain cleanly without wasting motion. These physical memories, embedded in muscle and bone, carry forward the accumulated wisdom of generations who worked the same land and faced the same challenges. The songs your mother sang while working become vessels for preserving family history and community values. Each ballad carries information about ancestors who faced hardship with courage, lovers who remained faithful through separation, heroes who protected their people from danger. The melodies themselves serve as memory aids, making it easier to recall the words that contain important lessons. When you sing these songs to your own children, you pass on more than entertainment. You transmit identity and belonging, the sense that fill your daily life, create powerful anchors for memory, instantly transporting you across years and distance to specific moments of significance. The smell of bread baking in the oven brings back childhood mornings when your mother's gentle humming mixed with the crackle of the fire and the promise of warm food to start the day. The fragrance of apple blossoms in spring always carries with it the memory of your wedding day, when you and your beloved walked beneath flowering trees toward your new life together. Seasonal rituals create regular opportunities for remembering and honoring the passage of time. Each year's harvest festival brings back memories of previous harvests, the year when rain threatened to ruin the grain, the season when abundance allowed for especially generous celebration, the autumn when your first child helped with the gathering for the first time. These annual repetitions create layers of memory that accumulate like rings in a tree trunk, marking growth and change while maintaining connection to enduring patterns. The objects that fill your home serve as tangible links to people and events that shaped your life. Your father's favorite hammer still bears the marks of his grip and the careful maintenance that kept it sharp and useful through decades of work. Your grandmother's wooden spoon, worn smooth by stirring countless pots of soup and stew, carries the memory of her patience and skill in feeding a large family. These tools and implements are more than functional objects. They are relics that hold the presence of those who used them. Stories told around the winter fire preserve the history of your family and community in forms that make the past feel alive and immediate. The tale of your grandfather's journey to market during a terrible storm becomes more than historical fact. It becomes a model of determination and resourcefulness that inspires current challenges. The account of how your parents met and fell in love provides a template for understanding the mysterious forces that bring people together in lasting partnerships. The village graveyard serves as a library of memory, each stone marker representing a life lived and lessons learned. Walking among these monuments to parents, grandparents, neighbors, and friends keeps their memory fresh while reminding you of your own place in the continuing story of human existence. The flowers you plant on beloved graves bloom each year as living memorials, connecting the beauty of the present moment to the love that transcends death. Photographs don't exist in your world, but memory creates even more vivid images that capture not just visual appearance, but the full sensory experience of important moments. You can recall exactly how your wife looked on your wedding day, the way sunlight caught in her hair, the particular shade of blue in her dress, the nervous flutter of her hands as she spoke her vows. These mental pictures are enhanced by emotional content that makes them more real than any external image could be. The recipes passed down through generations preserve memory in edible form, each dish carrying the taste of family tradition and cultural identity. Your mother's method for making honey cakes connects you to her childhood memories of special occasions and celebration. The particular way your family prepares vegetables for winter storage links you to ancestors who developed these techniques through trial and error over many years. Cooking becomes an act of remembrance that nourishes both body and spirit. Scars and marks on your body tell the story of your life's adventures and misadventures in permanent form. The line across your palm from a childhood accident with a sharp tool reminds you of the lesson about being careful with dangerous implements. The callus on your shoulder from carrying heavy loads speaks of years of honest work and growing strength. These physical records of experience create a living autobiography written in flesh and bone. The changing landscape around your village holds memories of events that shaped the community's development. The lightning-struck oak that still stands in the common recalls the summer when storms damaged many buildings and forced everyone to work together on repairs. The new bridge across the stream preserves the memory of the flood that washed away the old one and the community effort that created its replacement. Each feature of the familiar environment carries historical significance for those who know how to read the signs. Festival traditions create communal memory that binds the village together across generations. The annual May Day celebration connects current residents to countless previous celebrations, creating a sense of continuity that extends far beyond individual lifespans. Children who participate in traditional dances and games are learning the same skills and sharing the same joy that their great-grandparents experienced. These repeated activities create cultural memory that preserves community identity. The skills you master through years of practice become forms of embodied memory that connect you to all who have practiced the same crafts. When you work with wood, your hands remember techniques that have been refined over centuries of trial and error. The knowledge of which trees provide the best timber, how to season wood properly, and what tools work best for different tasks represents accumulated wisdom that extends far beyond your individual experience. Dreams provide a mysterious form of memory that mixes past and present, real and imagined, in combinations that often reveal hidden truths about your inner life. Dreams of departed family members feel like visitations that maintain connection across the boundary of death. Dreams that combine elements from different periods of your life create new understanding of patterns and relationships that weren't obvious during waking hours. This nocturnal memory work helps process experiences and integrate them into your developing sense of identity. The prayers you memorize during childhood remain with you throughout life, available for comfort and guidance during times of crisis or uncertainty. The words of the Lord's Prayer, repeated thousands of times, become so familiar that they feel like your own thoughts. These memorized texts serve as portable sources of wisdom and comfort that can be accessed anywhere, anytime, without need of books or external aids. Written records, though rare in your world, hold special power when they do exist. The family Bible, with its record of births, marriages, and deaths, preserves genealogical memory in permanent form. Official documents related to property ownership or legal agreements create lasting records that protect family interests across generations. The few letters you might receive from distant relatives or friends become treasured possessions that preserve the voices of loved ones across time and space. Your memory becomes a gift you offer to others, especially the young people who will carry the community's story into the future. When you tell children about the old days, you help them understand how current practices developed and why certain traditions are worth preserving. Your recollections of people they never met keep the influence of previous generations alive in current decision-making. Memory becomes not just personal possession, but communal resource that enriches the entire village. Your legacy begins in the soil you improve through years of careful cultivation, each season leaving the earth more fertile and productive than you found it. The compost piles you build from kitchen scraps and fallen leaves slowly transform into rich humus that feeds future crops. The fruit trees you plant while young will provide harvest for your grandchildren and their children after them. The stones you clear from fields and use to build walls and foundations become permanent improvements that will serve generations of farmers who work this same land. The skills flowing through your hands transfer to eager students who watch your every movement and ask countless questions about technique and timing. Your eldest son learns to judge the sharpness of tools by the sound they make cutting through wood. Your daughter masters the art of spinning wool into thread by observing the precise movements of your fingers as they guide the fiber onto the spindle. These physical abilities, refined through decades of practice, become their inheritance, more valuable than gold, because they ensure survival and prosperity. The wooden house you build with such care shelters not only your own family, but provides a template for future construction in the village. Young men study the joints you cut and the methods you use to create weatherproof walls and sturdy foundations. The innovations you develop, perhaps a more efficient chimney design or a clever solution to a structural problem, become part of the community's accumulated building knowledge. Your cottage stands as a monument to craftsmanship that will influence construction techniques for generations. In the garden behind your home, you experiment with new varieties of vegetables and herbs, carefully saving seeds from the most successful plants. Over the years, you develop strains that grow particularly well in your local soil and climate conditions. These improved seeds, shared with neighbors and passed to your children, carry your agricultural insights forward into the future. The particular mix of herbs you cultivate for cooking and medicine becomes your family's signature contribution to the village's collective knowledge. Your reputation for fairness and honesty in business dealings creates trust that extends beyond your own lifetime to benefit your children and grandchildren, the agreements you honor, even when they become inconvenient, the debts you repay, even when circumstances make it difficult, the quality work you provide, even when no one is watching. These choices build a family name that opens doors and creates opportunities for future generations. Integrity becomes an inheritance that provides ongoing dividends long after you are gone. The stories you tell preserve not just information, but wisdom about how to live well and face challenges with courage and dignity. Your account of surviving the terrible winter when the harvest failed teaches lessons about preparation, cooperation, and the importance of community support during crisis. The tale of how you met and courted your wife provides guidance about love, patience, and the qualities that make for lasting marriage. These narratives become family treasure that guides decision-making for decades to come. The religious faith you model through daily practice creates a spiritual legacy that shapes your descendants' understanding of right and wrong, purpose and meaning. Your children learn to pray by watching you bow your head before meals and kneel beside your bed before sleep. They develop their own relationship with the divine by observing your trust during difficult times and your gratitude during abundant seasons. Faith becomes not just intellectual doctrine, but lived experience that they can draw upon throughout their own spiritual journeys. The community connections you cultivate through years of mutual help and cooperation create a network of relationships that benefits your family long after your death. The neighbors who remember your assistance during their times of need continue to offer help to your widow and children. The reputation you build for reliability and generosity creates goodwill that extends to the next generation. Your investment in community relationships yields returns that compound over time like interest on money saved. The tools you make and maintain with such care serve your family for decades after your hands no longer grip their handles. The hammer you forge from good steel and fit with a handle shaped to your grip works as well for your son as it did for you. The wooden furniture you craft from carefully selected timber continues to serve daily needs while displaying the craftsmanship that marks your family as people who value quality and durability. These objects carry your presence and values into the future. Your approach to conflict resolution and problem solving influences how your family handles disputes and challenges for generations. The patience you show when dealing with difficult neighbors teaches your children that most problems can be solved through persistent goodwill and creative thinking. Your willingness to compromise when necessary, balanced with firmness about truly important principles, provides a model for navigating the complex relationships that define community life. The books you own, though few and precious, become treasured family possessions that pass from parent to child, along with the literacy skills needed to read them. Your ability to read and write, perhaps learned through great effort and sacrifice, opens opportunities for your children that might otherwise remain closed. The letters you write to distant relatives create connections that span geography and time. Literacy becomes a family tradition that elevates social status and creates possibilities for advancement. Your economic prudence and careful planning establish financial stability that provides security for future generations. The land you purchase through years of saving becomes the foundation for your family's long-term prosperity. The livestock you raise and breed improve in quality through your careful selection and husbandry practices. The reserve supplies you maintain against years of poor harvest create a buffer that protects your family from disasters that devastate less prepared households. The artistic and creative expressions you pursue during leisure hours add beauty and meaning to family life that enriches your descendants' understanding of what makes life worth living. The songs you compose or adapt tell family stories in a memorable form. The decorative elements you add to functional objects, carved patterns on tool handles, painted designs on pottery, embroidered flowers on clothing, demonstrate that beauty has value even in a world focused on survival and practical necessity. Your medical knowledge, accumulated through years of treating family illnesses and injuries, saves lives and reduces suffering for generations to come. The herbal remedies you develop and test become standard treatments passed down through family tradition. Your understanding of hygiene and prevention helps your descendants avoid diseases that afflict less knowledgeable families. The healing touch you develop through practice continues to work through your children's hands as they apply the techniques they learned by watching you care for the sick and injured. The innovations you develop to solve practical problems become part of the community's technological heritage. The improved plow design that makes field work more efficient gets copied by other farmers. The better method for preserving food through winter reduces spoilage and improves nutrition. The more effective technique for training animals saves time and effort for future generations. Your creative solutions to everyday challenges contribute to the gradual improvement of living conditions for everyone. Your environmental stewardship ensures that the natural resources your family depends upon remain available for future use. The woodlot you manage through selective cutting provides timber for construction and fuel for heating without depleting the forest. The stream you protect from pollution continues to provide clean water for drinking and irrigation. The wildlife you protect through careful hunting practices maintains populations that support both nutrition and the balance of nature. The values you embody, hard work, honesty, compassion, faith, and responsibility, become the moral foundation that guides your family's choices long after your voice falls silent. Your children remember not just what you said, but how you lived, and they apply those lessons to situations you never could have imagined. The character you develop through decades of choosing right over easy becomes the most precious inheritance you leave, shaping family identity and reputation for generations to come. The earth that has sustained you through all your years now opens to receive you back into its embrace, completing the ancient cycle that governs all living things. The soil that grew the grain you ate, the ground that supported your footsteps through countless seasons of work and celebration, becomes your final resting place with the same natural inevitability that brings autumn after summer and dawn after darkness. There is comfort in this return, a sense of coming home after a long journey to the place where you have always belonged. Your grave is dug by hands that loved you in earth, that knew your labor and felt the weight of your faithful steps. The village cemetery, where generations of your family and neighbors have found their rest, welcomes you into the communion of those who have completed their earthly tasks and passed on to whatever mystery awaits beyond the veil of mortality. The simple wooden marker that bears your name joins the quiet congregation of memorials that tell the story of your community's continuing life through birth and death and rebirth. The prayers spoken over your body echo words that have comforted countless other farewells, connecting your departure to the vast procession of human souls who have walked this same path from life into death and beyond. Your family and friends gather around your grave to speak memories and offer gratitude for the years you shared with them. Their tears water the earth that covers you, while their stories keep your memory alive in the hearts and minds of those who will carry forward the values and wisdom you embodied. The seasons continue their eternal dance above your resting place, marking time with the same reliable rhythms that structured your living days. Spring brings new grass to grow over your grave, tender green shoots that reach toward sunlight with the same irrepressible hope that characterized your approach to life's challenges. Summer flowers bloom in bright colors that celebrate the joy and beauty you brought to your family and community. Autumn leaves fall gently to create a natural blanket that speaks of rest well earned and peace finally achieved. Your children and grandchildren visit regularly, bringing fresh flowers and quiet conversations that maintain the bonds of love across the boundary between life and death. They tell you about the progress of crops you planted, the growth of children you held as babies, the continuation of traditions you established. In these one-sided conversations, they find comfort and guidance, hearing your voice in their memories and feeling your presence in the values and skills you passed on to them. The tools you used with such care find new life in younger hands, carrying forward your craftsmanship and dedication to quality work. Your son grips the same hammer handle that knew your palm, and his movements echo the techniques you taught him through patient demonstration and gentle correction. Your daughter uses your wooden spoons and pottery with the same respect for materials and attention to detail that you modeled throughout her childhood. In this way, your hands continue to work even after they have been stilled. The cottage you built with such careful attention to durability and comfort shelters your family for decades after your death. Its strong walls and weatherproof roof, testament to the skill and foresight you brought to every project. New generations of children play on the floors you laid and sleep under the roof you thatched. The fireplace you constructed with such care continues to warm your descendants while they tell stories about their grandfather who knew how to make things that lasted. The fruit trees you planted while young reach full maturity after you are gone, providing abundant harvests that feed your grandchildren and their children after them. Each apple that ripens in the sun carries your hope forward into the future. Each pear that sweetens on the branch proves that your faith in tomorrow was justified. The shade these trees provide on hot summer days offers comfort to people you never met, but whose lives are enriched by your Longago planning and patient cultivation. Your reputation for honesty and kindness outlives your physical presence, creating a legacy that opens doors and builds trust for your descendants. When your son approaches a neighbor for help, that neighbor remembers your fairness in past dealings and responds with generosity. When your daughter offers assistance to someone in need, her offer is readily accepted because your family name carries associations of reliability and genuine concern for others' welfare. The songs you sang while working continue to echo through the village as children learn them from parents who learned them from you. The melodies that made long days of harvest pass more quickly become part of the community's musical heritage. The words that preserved family history and moral instruction carry your voice forward into generations that will never know your face but will benefit from the wisdom you embedded in memorable verse. The improvements you made to the land increase in value over time, enriching your family's inheritance in ways you never could have calculated. The fields you drained provide better crops during wet years. The walls you built from cleared stones create boundaries that prevent disputes and mark property lines for centuries. The wells you dug continue to provide clean water long after the hands that excavated them have returned to dust. Your influence extends through the community in ever-widening circles as people you helped remember your kindness and pass it forward to others. The widow you assisted during her husband's illness helps another family facing similar challenges. The young man you taught carpentry skills becomes a master craftsman who trains the next generation. The children you treated with patience and respect grow up to become adults who show the same consideration to their own children and neighbors. The faith you lived, rather than merely professed, continues to inspire your family and friends long after your voice falls silent. Your example of trust during difficult times gives others courage to face their own trials without despair. Your practice of gratitude during abundant seasons teaches others to recognize and appreciate the blessings that surround them. Your commitment to prayer and worship creates a family tradition that sustains spiritual life for generations. In the cycles of nature that you understood so well, your return to the earth becomes part of the ongoing creation that sustains all life. Your body nourishes the soil that will grow food for future generations. Your breath becomes part of the air that fills the lungs of children not yet born. Your warmth joins the vast circulation of energy that powers the sun and stars and the beating hearts of all living creatures. The stories told about your life become part of the village's collective memory, joining the treasury of examples that teach young people how to live with dignity and purpose. Your particular combination of strengths and weaknesses, successes and failures becomes a complete human portrait that helps others understand that an ordinary life lived with integrity has extraordinary value. Your struggles with temptation and your victories over selfishness provide realistic models that inspire without overwhelming. In the mystery that lies beyond earthly existence, you join the communion of souls who have completed their journey through mortal life and discovered whatever reward awaits those who have loved, deeply worked, faithfully, and trusted in purposes larger than their own understanding. Whether this continuation takes the form of resurrection, reincarnation, or absorption into universal consciousness, the love you gave and received during your earthly years becomes eternal, transcending the physical limitations that once seemed so important. Your return to the source of all being completes the circle that began with your first breath in the cottage where generations of your family had lived and died before you. The hands that first held you as a newborn baby, the voices that first spoke your name, the eyes that first looked upon you with love, all of these await your return in whatever realm accommodates the reunion of souls who have shared the sacred adventure of human existence. The legacy you leave is not measured in wealth accumulated or fame achieved, but in the love freely given, the work faithfully performed, the faith courageously maintained, and the hope confidently passed to those who will continue the great human project of creating meaning and beauty in a world that offers both joy and sorrow in abundant measure. Your life, though counted in mere decades, has lasting significance because it was lived with attention to enduring values that transcend the brief span of individual existence.